Hello, Chris. I'm joined with Chris Algar today from your head of SEO at Sykes Cottages. And if I'm right, I believe you started your career agency side prior to moving over to in-house before joining Sykes Cottages, where you've now been for over 4 years.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's going on 5 years now at Sykes. But yeah, before I was agency side, I actually started out renting cars for a living. That was my that was my job.
But you knew how to optimize the pages and get the search there and it working. Oh, well, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being my guest. Our career paths crossed quite a few years ago now, and I've always followed your career, looked out for your success, and it's been great to see the growth that Sykes has had in the time that you've been there. An exciting journey for you. I'd imagine the last 12 months has been different though to any other. Lots of changes. You're most of the team working from home?
Yeah, the last 12 months have been really strange, if I'm honest. It's 12 months to the day since I started working from home, and pretty much the first time in my career where I've worked for a sustained period of time remotely. Being a manager of people as well, that presents its own challenge because I've never actually been in that situation myself. We've all been working from home. When I say all of us, a lot of my team have been for the last year. It's presented its own challenge, but also it's proven how agile and how flexible we can all be, and how well we can all work remotely. Even in such a stressful and strange time for everyone as well.
I think certainly hearing that, speaking to other businesses as well, as in when there's plans or goals that you've looked to do certain things remotely, and it's almost like a plan that you build up to, and then when you're forced to do it, it's amazing how quickly you can change when you have to, when there's no other choice.
Yeah, massive shout out to all the tech teams, I guess, up and down the country, because the remarkable amount of effort and and dedication to get everyone working efficiently at home. We're already on that process of doing a lot to shift us over to Office 365 and the likes of Microsoft Teams and things like that. But just timing wise, we had to really speed up that project and get it working within days. And massive well done to all the tech people out there who managed to do that.
Absolutely. So what does your team consist of then, Chris? Who's in your team?
Yeah, so I'm head of SEO at Sykes, and essentially the department I look after, you could package us up as earned media. So that is anything from like a typical SEO team. So we have the content team in there, the technical SEO team, and the outreach team. But also we have a digital media studio. So those guys will look after photography. So all of the property photography you see on the website, that is processed by the studio, but also we do in-house video work as well. And on top of that, we have the PR and social team. So this team here look after the organic side of social. So all of the posts you'll see on our branded channels, and all of the customer service interaction you'll see on social media as well will come from that team. So there's a good 25 people in our team. It's grown significantly over the last few years. But our purpose ultimately is to drive interest and free traffic sources into Sykes and our sister brands.
And how did your strategy have to change then? Because obviously over the last 12 months, you've not been able to provide your service for a big proportion of that time. So while you're typically been trying to drive traffic for people to book cottage holidays, and now you still obviously want to keep your brand and your name out there, but people can't take bookings. So what's been the kind of plan? How have you had to adapt with that?
Yeah, it's a massive change. Travel as an industry, everyone's lives have been affected by this, but travel as an industry has been really hit hard with the pandemic. Essentially it stops you from being able to offer your services and your products. So trading is very difficult. And we're still in a period of time now where people can't go on holiday, people can't travel. Hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that's soon to be on the horizon. But it has changed, how we work. And in the SEO team, I think it is right in saying that SEO has always been an important part of what we do in the business. We're always a big contributor to the overall mix of bookings and mix of traffic hitting our websites, but it's become more and more important, I guess, over the last 12 months.
Yeah.
as any business which has been impacted significantly, you then look at how can you reduce costs, and marketing is a big area that if you can't send people away on holiday with you, there's no point advertising to try and stimulate that demand. It's just not there. So we've had to make changes across the marketing team to reduce spend in some of the areas like PPC, which are normally a big driver of bookings for us, and be more reliant on SEO. But as I say, SEO has always been a fundamental part of the strategy. So it has been, we're in a position, fortunately enough, to be able to pick up some of that extra slack which we've seen from some of the other areas. But it's all been, I think, the strategy for us in the last 12 months, particularly in travel, it all comes down to communication. I think ultimately, and reacting as quickly as possible to an ever-changing situation. I think it's easier now to look back at the last 12 months with hindsight and go, oh, we could have done this and we could do that. But when you're back in that situation, you're learning as you go. I think we're all experiencing it for the first time. So for us, it was making decisions quickly and being able to communicate them as quick as possible to all the relevant stakeholders of the business, employees, customers, and property owners as well. So it's I think communication's been a big thing, and on top of that as well, it was making sure that we still had a presence as well, making sure that customers felt reassured that we were still operating, owners were constantly communicated with, and doing that across social media, but also keep on the website and looking how to keep people inspired as well for the future of when they can travel again. So in summary, communication is the biggest part, I think, of where our energies have shifted in the last 12 months for SEO.
Yeah. So it's almost been, you can't actively push, there's no point putting the spend to it, but actually you want to stay in people's mindsets. People are desperate to get booking these holidays, and you want to be absolutely reassurance, communication, so when they're ready and when they're about to do it, Sykes is at the forefront. I think it's probably been a big demand on you guys as a team, just actually staying abreast of what the rules are, especially when Wales and Scotland haven't always been consistent with what's happening in England. So I'd imagine that's been a consideration for the SEO as well, because there's a lot of people searching, me included, when can I go where? What can I do? Because I live over the border just in Wales, but so close to England, and we have different rules all the time. So has that been something that's driven traffic to the site as well, with people looking at what they're allowed to do? Has that been an information piece for you?
Yeah, absolutely. We've built what we call like a COVID information hub on the website.
Saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a challenge keeping up to date with all the rules. We're dealing with Wales, Scotland, Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and England.
Of course,
and they all at times have either very similar rules or have different rules. And keeping up to date with that has been a key part of what we've been doing, and making sure that the website is up to date as well. So again, communication. So as soon as we're aware of any legislative changes across the board, then we'll take stock of those changes and then make sure that our property owners are aware of those changes, and that our customers are also aware of those changes. So the COVID information hub is really useful for that, because it's just one source of truth almost. You can go on there and you can see when it was last updated and what the latest information is. But as you say, it's really challenging. I live in Wales myself, and at times you might be watching the news and you've seen Boris doing an update and you think, oh, that applies to me, but then quickly you go, well, that's not the case here. When you're so close to the border, it's really confusing, and I think that's been a challenge for every travel company. Majority of our business is UK based, which makes it far easier. But for any travel company who's dealing with multiple countries all across Europe and the rest of the world, you can just imagine the complexities of that. It isn't an enviable task.
No, difficult. So when restrictions were lifted last year, when we had a period of time when bookings were allowed again, would you say that you were busier than an average year in that time?
Yeah, definitely. What we saw was really just a suppressed demand. So 23rd of March last year, when we entered into a lockdown, for the very first time, no one really knew quite how long that would go on. Obviously, that went on all the way through to the end of June, and I think at that point, the unlocking of the restrictions, people were just desperate to get out of the four walls of home and see something different. And what we found was that it was more of a suppression. We saw a real suppression in demand over those lockdown months, but as soon as there was a notice or an update from the government, of an easing of restrictions, it was almost like a switch on. The tap was switched on
in traffic.
And what we saw was just unprecedented levels of bookings and traffic hitting our website, and it was almost like 3 months worth, in a matter of weeks. But yeah, last summer was really good for the UK staycation market. Yeah. There was lots of people exploring closer to home than ever before. The weather was phenomenal this time, going into summer.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really appreciated some of the more simple things that they maybe had taken for granted before, just going outside and doing some like a walk or go to like a different beach or something like that was a lot and enough for a lot of people. So there was a real falling back in love, I guess, with the UK staycation last year, and I think people really did enjoy the summer, and it was a massive help for communities which rely on tourism up and down the country, businesses that rely on it, and it was great to see people enjoying the great outdoors in Britain again.
Looks like we could be set for that again this year with no clear guidelines as to what the situation is with going abroad also. So hopefully good for the UK as well. A bit different to holidays, but as well as surge in UK holidays, there's also been a massive surge over lockdown in people buying puppies, dogs, everyone. I think I'm being forced down that route as well. Have you noticed that in search? Is that something are there a lot more people looking for dog-friendly holidays? I'd imagine that's always a key consideration for people holidaying in the UK, but have you noticed that?
Yeah, it's always been a big part of what we do. At Sykes, people taking their dogs on holiday with them is it's an extension of the family. They don't want to go on a holiday even pre-pandemic. It's like almost a guilt of leaving your dog at home or a dog in a kennel, and you going away. So they are part of the family and they do go on holidays, and it's a massive part of what we do. I think we'll definitely see more pets than ever before going on holiday with us when people can.
Are all your properties pet friendly?
Yeah, we have lots and lots of properties that are pet friendly. It's a big factor, I think, for holiday home owners to consider, because the benefits of accepting pets can ultimately result in more bookings because you've got a wider audience to target, and also it can result in more income as well. So I think for property owners, it's a big consideration, and a lot of our property owners do accept pets because of that.
Yeah. That's good. I'll be looking out for those soon, probably. And then I think, have you noticed that generally people's behaviours changed? Are they looking for more reassurance when booking? Because obviously we don't know what's going to be, what the changes are in regulations. Have you found that you've had to be more reassuring with customers then generally to say if it's moved, if it can't go ahead, then it can be moved? Has that been part of your communication as well?
Yeah, I'd say customer behaviours have changed so much in the last 12 months, and they're constantly changing as well. There was always a trend pre-pandemic of people looking to take shorter breaks and being a bit more kind of, I guess, urgent with their behaviour. So, a lot more kind of last minute decisions and shorter breaks. I think what we've seen in the last year, particularly with the end of the restrictions back in June, was a lot of last minute demand. People were ready to make a decision straight away, like I'll book today and I'll go away this weekend.
Yeah.
I think since the pandemic's been in and it's progressed through, we saw a lot of behaviour, particularly at the start of this year in January, February, of people looking further ahead because they felt that booking anything in the short term, medium term was probably unlikely to, it could be unlikely to happen. There could be things which change in legislation that were unsure. So people were mainly looking at the July and August, your summer months where they felt it was more likely to happen. And I think that's kind of where we are now. I think there's, people are ultimately waiting for government direction of what's going to happen next. But there's things that teams, in travel can do to try and help with people's booking behaviours. So, likes of reassuring COVID policies on the website. How are we dealing with lockdowns? Are we dealing with them with change of dates? Request of full refunds, and all of those types of messages which you'll find on the website do help. But I think that ultimately it comes down to the direction from the government of absolute clarity of like, this is when people can start to go on holiday and this is what it looks like. You know, what rules and regulations are in place. Is it single household? Is it you know, certain countries being able to travel to certain countries? I think these are all things which customers now are more affected by than obviously ever before. It never was a consideration before. Now it's, you know, you wait for the government updates to make your decisions.
And have you found that people are generally booking for longer as well? Because I'd imagine sometimes people's UK holidays might be their second holiday. They focus on their abroad holiday and then, like you say, they do a weekend or maybe 3 nights. So I guess there's increased budgets now for the UK holiday as well, isn't there? So people might be stepping up what they're looking for or increasing the length of the holiday. Is that something that's changed as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think definitely this year we'll see more longer term holidays. As you said before, you know, there's lots of restrictions on travel internationally at the moment, and there likely will be going into summer as well. So people will be looking to spend more time at home, on home soil, and that'll mean that they're taking longer breaks. I think also as well, there's a big thing to play off the fact that a lot of people didn't use annual leave for reasons the last year and rolled those holidays into this year. And again, because of all the lockdowns, people being on furlough, businesses being shut, there'll be a lot of that again. So once the time's right, people will want to start using holidays. So I think that there'll be, you know, the main holiday for a lot of people this year will be a holiday at home in the UK. But equally, I think they'll top those up with like shorter weekend breaks here and there, because they want to make the most of the time they've missed in the past year or so.
Yeah, definitely. And how's your what behaviours have you noticed with cottage owners then? Have you almost been there to reassure them as well? And in some cases, have you had to keep them up to date with the latest guidelines in terms of what's allowed and what's happening? Have you been the voice of sort of explaining the rules, if you like, as a company?
Yeah, no, that's our part to play. We're an agent for the holiday homeowners, so keeping regular communication with the owners to help reassure them, help them keep up to date with what's happening and how we're dealing with the situation. You know, that's our key part. And I think, again, communication is absolutely critical, I think, in the last 12 months, and it continues to be the case now. We're in an ever-changing situation. So, as I say, as and when we know there's a change, we take stock to understand that, and then we make sure that the relevant people are communicated to.
And how have you, what are your thoughts going forward then? Do you think that working from home will remain a part of the company offering? Do you think that certain people see the benefits of it? Do you think it'll be a combination? Will it be totally from home? What do you say? I know it's a favourite question on LinkedIn, but how do you see it working for your team?
I think, you know, as I said, I think it's been a real big eye-opener for a lot of businesses to show how agile and how well people can work remotely. I do know, you know, we have these fantastic offices in Chester, and I really do miss being in the office, really do. You know, hundreds of people being in the office in a normal time, and that the culture which comes with that, and, you know, the friendships that I've built, and the cross-departmental kind of working relationships that are built up as well. You know, I don't think there's a massive substitute for that sometimes, especially with all the technology. You know, it does its job, but I do think there's something to be said for being in an office environment. But with that being said, I think going forward, you know, there's more of an understanding of what flexibility might look like, and it's something to review as we come to, you know, hopefully, touch wood, the end of this pandemic and the end of the restrictions. And I think a lot of businesses, again, will look back and go, what can we do going forward to take the best bits of what we've had in the last 12 months and combine that with the way we used to work as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's that needs to happen. And but, you know, for me, I think that personally, I like the ability to have the choice. I think for me personally, that's it. You know, I've got a 2-year-old daughter, so
getting in the office is even more appealing then.
Yeah, it is at the moment. But, you know, I think you know, there's a lot to be said with the time spent, you know, commuting to work on certain days and the things you might miss out on as well. So I think it's getting that balance right. And but yeah, it's, you know, working from home with a 2-year-old has been quite challenging.
Yeah, I think one thing I'm mindful of with our team is when people are working from home, I think sometimes you sort of think, oh, the team are at home, they're managing their own time, whereas actually I think a lot of people actually put more pressure on themselves because they are at home. And I think it's important for employers to encourage the team really to make sure they are still taking breaks, go out, take that lunch break, because I think you almost put this pressure on yourself that you've got to be always accessible when you're at home, whereas actually in the office somebody would see that your head's down working on something and perhaps leave you to it. And I think sometimes that's one of my concerns, that although you've got all this time to yourself, you're almost more distracted, your day becomes more fragmented, you're always on Zoom calls, you're always sort of at the end of a phone call, whereas in the office you perhaps just lock yourself away, work on something and people can see that you're busy. But a combination of is definitely, I think, the way it's going to work going forward. Do you find that you miss out on conversations with just that are almost even not planned meetings, but you can just sense somebody's emotion a little bit more? If you're managing a team, it's sometimes tricky to pick up on that side of things when it's all remote as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's no substitute for like human, face-to-face kind of interaction. Massive part of communication is just reading the room, reading body language, seeing how people are. And when you work away from the office, working from home, it is hard to know how everyone's doing, especially when you have such a big team. We are constantly doing like pulse surveys within the business, so checking on how everyone's doing, and they can provide kind of feedback, and also just having regular daily catch-ups with the team as a group, but also having one-to-ones in with the team as well. Just trying to do everything we can to make sure that if anything, we're over communicating, and it might feel quite repetitive sometimes, but you're doing it for absolutely the right reasons. But yeah, there's no substitute for being in the office or being in a place where everyone can kind of see how everyone is, and can have those water cooler conversations, you call it. Have a little 5-10 minute chat about something completely off the cuff, and you do miss that working from home, I think.
Definitely. And one of the things you mentioned early on was about when you talked about the members in your team, and you mentioned your video production. Is that something you've managed to do much of over the last 12 months? Have you kept video going? Have you kept video content something that you've been working on?
Yeah, that's been tough. With a lot of the video content we did pre-COVID was physically going out around the country and visiting some of our properties, visiting some of the locations that people love to travel to, and creating content off the back of the office. It's not been possible. So we've created content ultimately which serves a purpose in the current time. So a lot of it has almost shifted to maybe more like internal communications, making sure that the physical floor briefs that we used to have for the business, they can't happen now. So, let's record them and then circulate them out so people can watch when they have the time to watch them. But as things have eased up in little windows, little pockets of opportunities to be able to go back out and do some video content, we have absolutely done that. It's definitely a big part of what we want to do going forward, and video is really engaging, and especially when you have a product like we offer, which is people love to see like the beautiful properties, the beautiful locations you can visit up and down the UK, and capturing that in video is probably the best way of doing it.
Really bring it to life with real people and almost imagine themselves there. So excited. Once we get released out of these restrictions, I think it's going to be a busy time again for you. There's going to be lots going on, I'd imagine. Have you already then catching up from bookings that have been moved forward this year, then for the rest of the year? Are you pretty much at capacity already?
Yeah, I was just looking at that actually before the call. Summer is getting tight. People are looking to book for summer. They already were doing that, but I think Boris did an announcement at the end of February, which was the roadmap out of lockdown.
Yeah.
And again, that provided some kind of reassurance and clarity for what might be possible and when. Given that happened, we were taking a booking every 10 seconds, the moments after the announcement had finished, and we had our record day for bookings the day after the announcement. So people are looking ahead to book, and as I say, summer is really popular, and your normal locations for summer holidays, like Cornwall and Devon, the occupancy or the availability in those areas over summer is getting really tight. But, you know, I think there'll be lots of exploring some of the more off the beaten track locations as well that people maybe not have gone to before. So there's lots of different locations around the UK, but it's all going really, really quickly for the kind of the summer months. I think, as I said before, once we, you know, once we get past this kind of first milestone for a lot of hospitality and travel, which in England is the 12th of April, I think we'll start to see more kind of imminent behaviour of bookings where people know confidently they can book a holiday for, you know, a break for the weekend and they know they can go. So
I think that's the thing. I think for some people, they don't want to take that chance. They don't like the fact that they have to rearrange, whereas other people kind of think, I don't care, I want to get absolutely what I want. And then if it's got to be moved, it's got to be moved. But I think generally what you're saying is if you want something, you better book quite quickly because it's going to go quick, I think, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think that's the point. I think, yeah, if you're looking for, you know, your peak months as usual, July and August is always the peak months of people being on holiday. And I think this year, more than ever, I think people will be, you know, desperate to have a change of scenery and to enjoy time with, you know, people they love and they haven't seen for a while. You know, hopefully that's the case. We can all start to reconnect and make some new memories. That's the plan.
Yeah. Well, it's been fascinating speaking to you. Thank you, Chris. One last question before we go. Is there anywhere that you visited then in the UK as part of one of the Sykes Cottages that stands out to you that perhaps you hadn't been to before working here that you would recommend?
Yeah, well, as I say, I live in North Wales myself, but I'm originally from Lancashire and I lived in the Lake District for a while. So North Wales is somewhere which is relatively new to me, even though I live here. And when we were filming the TV advert a couple of years ago, we decided on North Wales as a location to film it because of the variety of landscapes you can have in North Wales. So you can have the mountains, the forests, the beaches, and just getting the chance to kind of explore on that shoot all these different locations. You know, it was amazing to see what was right on my doorstep, which I never really appreciated. So one of the places I definitely fell in love with was Anglesey. You know, lovely location. If you get the chance to go there, I'd absolutely recommend it. Lots to do, lots of nice scenery. There's red squirrels, there's nature to reconnect with, but also just getting out on one of the boats. I took a boat trip out to Puffin Island. You know, got to see puffins, seals, and it was just a great day. And again, it's just right on the doorstep here in North Wales. So if you haven't done that, I'd really recommend it. Yeah,
I think sometimes people from overseas see more of our country than us, don't they? Because like you say, when it's so close on your doorstep, you can sometimes dismiss it as a holiday. Fabulous. Well, no, thank you. It's been great to catch up with you, and I can't wait to see things starting to move for you again, people starting to holiday in the UK. I'm definitely going to be one of them. Got ours booked. So yeah, I'm off to Dorset this summer. So that's a new location for me. Amazing. No, look forward to it. Right. Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. Yeah, look forward to catching up with you again soon. Bye now. Cheers. Bye-bye.